What's going on? A to Z Sports. Sam Phelan here live for another edition of Titans at 2, powered and presented by Doughbird Pizza and Rotisserie in Green Hills. And those of you joining me on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, see the name of the show there at the top. Titans at 2 with Mike Vrabel appearing far less solid on Will Levis, or far less sold on Will Levis than most Titans fans. Mike Vrabel appearing far less sold on the man you see at the bottom of your screen on the graphic there, Will Levis, than most Titans fans. Mike Vrabel just had a very, very interesting press conference at St. Thomas Sports Park. That's where I'm coming from here as I go live with you to recap some of the main talking points. And I've got a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of things that we need to go over here, and I'm interested in seeing where the chat falls on all of this stuff. But my main takeaway from this press conference is what you see in the title. I tweeted this out on X as well. I came out of that press conference thinking Mike Vrabel significantly less high than media, than Titans fans, than the national narrative seems to be on Will Levis right now. Make of that what you want. This might be some mind games again, trying to play coy about the quarterback situation moving forward. But Mike Vrabel, will get into what he said, blaming Will Levis for quite a lot of stuff that has gone wrong for the Tennessee Titans. A lot to talk about. Like I said, loaded show. And want to present it all from Doughbird Pizza and Rotisserie, and remind you guys that Doughbird is where you're sure to find flavor. They're bringing you a crave-worthy menu with an unexpected and perfect duo of pizza and rotisserie with offbeat flavor combos made even more delicious when you dunk your food into any of the house-made sauces. They always deliver on flavor and satisfaction at Doughbird, located in Green Hills. Happy hour getting ready to start here in a little bit. So if you're looking for a date night spot, a place to watch a football game this weekend, or even just a dinner spot for the whole family, go to Doughbird in Green Hills. They will not disappoint. I can guarantee that much. Doughbird, Doughbird, Doughbird. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with kind of what was being said last night after the game by Mike Vrabel and Will Levis. Will Levis, I think, said all of the right things when he talked about his performance and the Titans' loss.
I mean, losing sucks. Especially at this level. It's just so hard to win games, and when you got an opportunity like that to win it at the end and it doesn't happen, it makes it feel a whole lot worse. But, credit to them. They made the plays when they needed to, and we didn't. Got to get back to work.
Well, I saw you sitting there just kind of with your eyes closed. I don't know if you were reflecting on the game or what, but what was going through your mind in the locker room?
Just trying to replay in my mind a little bit some of the things that happened, and obviously the knee-jerk reactions are obviously a little different than once you go back and watch the tape, and things are usually not as bad as they seem, or if they're really good, they're not as good as they seem. So, just trying to replay in the heat of the moment how I felt in that moment, what I could have done, but just needed to take a couple breaths.
What were the particular moments that came to mind, I guess?
Just the end of half and the end of game situations, specifically just the end of the game. A couple throws I missed here and there, a couple, that last one, just trying to make a play and how it could have turned out differently. I should maybe take a shot somewhere else, but need to give him a ball. Wanted Josh to climb the ladder for me, and need to give him one to jump up and go get. So didn't make the play. Going to do my best to make it next time.
That's Titans quarterback Will Levis after the game, kind of reflecting on his performance and very critical of himself in a very unique way. Karen says he seems like a perfectionist. I think that is absolutely dead on, where Will Levis says a lot of I need to make a play. I need to be better. Self-critical. That's what you want to hear out of a quarterback. I have no problem with any of that stuff, as he looked pretty fire in his jacket, as Nate's Burner points out. My takeaway from Will Levis last night was very positive. And I think most Titans fans, most media people, most objective football fans watching the game would agree with that was a very bad situation. He was pressured 15 times on the evening. That is the most a Titans quarterback has been pressured so far this year. It was in Heinz Field, a very difficult place to play, where rookie quarterbacks are now 1-21 in the last 20 years. like, you don't win that game. The deck was stacked against Will Levis. No Traylon Burks for most of the game. He was like hurt and then out late. You've got a revolving door on the offensive line. It was not a good spot to be in, and yet I think he identified pressure very well. He stood tall during pressure, took some hits, got the ball out. It made overall pretty sound decisions. A couple that you'd like to have back that he was trying to force it, but I think a really solid game, leading you down the field at the end of half, leading you down the field at the end of the game to give you a chance to win. I came away from that game saying, wow, Will Levis can play even when it's a bad situation and everything else around him doesn't seem to be working. Mike Vrabel came away from that game going, meh. Here's what he said today during his press conference.
But at this point, with what you've seen out of Will, and especially after a road environment last night, are you ready to name him maybe your starter?
No, I'm not ready to do that yet. I think we'll have a conversation with the depth chart over the weekend, and we'll have a depth chart or something close to it available when we talk to you on Tuesday to be able to go through the moving parts of not only Ryan's health, but whatever there are going on the offensive line, which there is, coming out of that game, which there would be like in the defensive secondary. So there'll probably be some moving parts here over the weekend. Again, when we lose, nobody did a good enough job. I think there was some good plays. I think that there was some decisions that we can't make, and throwing the ball into cover two down the sidelines isn't something that is going to be very advantageous offensively if you're trying to take care of football.
So that's Mike Vrabel just about an hour ago at St. Thomas Sports Park talking about, number one, whether or not he's ready to name Will Levis as his starting quarterback. Number two was just a reflection of Will Levis's performance at all. I think these are two very different things that I'll address separately. But first, Kick It to the King comes in with a super chat and says, if Vrabel goes back to Tannehill, 95% of the fan base will be calling for him to be fired. Love Levis's presser, critical of himself. I instead of we. Totally agree on the press conference. Love accountability from a quarterback, especially accountability from a quarterback like that played pretty well to still come out and be like, I wish I would have done better in certain ways. It's a good omen for the future, I think. But yes, Mike Vrabel's playing with fire here. If you go back to Ryan Tannehill right now, people are not going to be happy with you, both in the fan base and potentially in the locker room. I don't know. I think the locker room still believes in Tannehill. They still like Tannehill, so it won't be as severe as you might have seen in the past with like when the 49ers first benched Jimmy Garoppolo for Trey Lance and everybody was like, yo, we like Jimmy. What are we doing here? But I do think the fan base is going to start turning on Mike Vrabel if it gets to that point. I think this is a good head coach that Titans fans tend to side with and try to believe in. But Will Levis is the one thing that is keeping Titans fans checked in and giving Titans fans hope right now. You take that away and go to Ryan Tannehill. I mean, inexcusable in my opinion right now. You can't do that. You can't make that move. So let's break this down, two things at a time. I'm going to tell you why I think the first comment should be read a little bit differently than the second comment. And there is a comment earlier from MB that says, I wouldn't read anything into Mike Vrabel's press conference, Sam. He wants the fans and media to stay level-headed. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with this statement. I've got some thoughts here on Mike Vrabel's opinions in general. But first, want to remind everybody that today's Titans at 2 show is presented and powered by Doughbird Pizza and Rotisserie. You can grab a seat at the bar at Doughbird and sip on some craft cocktails, inventive craft cocktails made with daily fresh juices and homemade ingredients alongside local beers and a wide variety of wines on the wine menu. They've got happy hour Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. So that's starting today here in less than an hour. Happy hour starts at Doughbird. Deals starting at $5 all day long, and they recently announced a great new Bottle and Bird special that features an entire bottle of wine, an entire rotisserie chicken, and 2 sides for $40 when you dine in. It's perfect for date night. It's perfect for a dinner with the whole family, or even just to go hang out at the bar and watch a game. Go check out Dobert in Green Hills. I've been multiple times and never been disappointed. It's where you're sure to find flavor. Dobert Pizza and Rotisserie in Green Hills. All right, here's why these two things are different. And I'll play it again if you guys want me to. Let me know if you want to hear it again. But Mike Vrabel's, I'm not ready to name a starting quarterback yet. That I don't put as much stock into. We've seen this of him the last couple weeks here, where Mike Vrabel tends to play coy at all costs. He is going to reveal as little information. Everybody knows where the Titans stood coming into that game against Atlanta, coming into that game against the Steelers, and yet he's still like, well, Will's maybe not the starter, maybe. So whatever. That means nothing to me, that he leaves the door open for potential change. What I do put stock into is how unnecessarily critical Mike Vrabel has been of Will Levis. And I didn't want to go here, but I will go back to the win in the Oilers uniforms over the Atlanta Falcons. Because, by the way, Will Levis was historically good against the Atlanta Falcons. He had the best rookie debut since Fran Tarkenton in the 60s. That's how good Will Levis was, statistically, delivering a win for his football team. Now, if I'm a head coach, I would probably come down into the huddle and give a rookie quarterback some props for stepping up and carrying my football team and my offense. Mike Vrabel, if you watch the locker room hype speech after the win over the Falcons, didn't really mention Will Levis at all. Didn't, at least from what we saw, give a game ball to Will Levis. He's kind of avoided singing Will Levis's praises in his highest of highs, and yet has been very, very fast to criticize every low. He's very quick to point out every mistake, every bad decision, every throw that he thinks could have been better. Very slow to recognize how well Will has done standing in the pocket, dealing with pressure, dealing with the adversity around him, and giving the team a chance to win. Everybody's been impressed with it, and yet Mike Vrabel seems very slow to get on board the train here, while leaving the door open for Ryan Tannehill to potentially start. Does that mean he's going to go back to Tannehill? No. I don't think that's where they would go, because I think, obviously the backlash would be extreme. But I think it's getting ridiculous how much Mike Vrabel refuses to give Will Levis his flowers. And by the way, blames him for stuff. I don't have this video. I was not filming at the time, and I was beside myself when it happened. But believe it or not, the touchdown pass, or would have been touchdown pass, to Tajay Spears at the end of the first half. You guys will know what I'm talking about. They went down the field on a 2-minute drill. Will Levis put a ball up to Tajay Spears, who was wide open, who started to backpedal, tripped over his own feet, and came up short of the ball. And everybody went, man, if Tajay doesn't fall down, that's a touchdown. Wish I had that back. Mike Vrabel's take on it, Will Levis needs to throw a better football. Said that with a straight face in the press conference today, and media pushed back on it a little bit, being like, hey, you sure? You sure? And he said, yeah, needs to be a better football. We went and looked at the replay as the media corps in the media room afterwards. That was a perfectly fine football and a good decision by Will Levis. I don't know why Mike Vrabel has this idea in his head right now of like, that's on Will Levis, that's on the quarterback. Sure, at times I think there is a benefit to potentially keeping your guy humble. You don't want him to ride too high. You don't want him to ride too low. Will Levis does seem like a very steady-headed quarterback right now, where the head coach giving him constructive criticism is not going to bother him or hurt his confidence, because he is a perfectionist in himself, as we just went and saw. But like, I think for the fan base, it's like, man, what does this guy have to do to get some praise from his head coach? And so we'll see where the Titans go. But the consensus takeaway that I had, like the overwhelming takeaway I had from this press conference, was Mike Vrabel not as high on Will Levis as Titans fans, not looking optimistically on Will Levis the same way a lot of people are trying to. He is pointing out every single flaw and leaving the door open for Ryan Tannehill to start. That would be a major mistake. We'll see if it's actually a reality or potential smoke and mirrors. Vrabel said there would be a meeting this weekend to go over the depth chart, and they would have more updates on one, Ryan Tannehill's health, and two, where things stand on Tuesday when Vrabel next talks to the media. So I will have my next Titans at 2 show. I'll let you know right now. Will not be Monday. I'm pushing it to Tuesday. It will be press conference where we're going to get a lot of updates on the offensive line, on the secondary, and on the quarterback situation. And then I'm going to come break it down with you Tuesday afternoon. So that's the situation for me. But yeah, I think this is a big mistake. I think Mike Vrabel's blaming for Will Levis for things that aren't Will Levis's fault. And I think the quarterback played really well despite a bad situation around him. Let's pivot to the defense, because this is really where a ton of my concerns lie right now. The Titans didn't stop the run, and I'll pull up the stats again here. The run defense has continued to stink. Last night, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, 27 carries combined between the two of them, 157 rushing yards combined between the two of them. This is a trend that has not slowed down over the last 4 weeks or so from a Titans run defense that I once looked at and said, yeah, this is a pretty good group. Easton Freeze over at Broadway TN tweeted this out. Just the rushing yards the Titans defense has allowed in each of the past 20 games. There is one game over 100 yards. It was 108 yards like 15 games ago, and then a lot of sub 100-yard games. The last four, 193, 139, 140, 166. The Titans defensive line has been non-existent. They've been a non-factor. They were a non-factor last night. And you got ran all over. You had 0 sacks. You had very limited pressures. You created 0 turnovers. Mike Vrabel was asked, what happened to your defensive line and why is this run defense so bad?
Oh, no, they got the edge twice, right? There were 2 big ones on the edge. They had 2, 15 and a 14 that hit up the middle. So, sometimes what happens is it's like, okay, I got to try to make a play, and I peek inside, or I get a little too tight, or I get knocked out of my gap, and then I got to show back up. Instead of playing the block, sometimes we look for the football, as opposed to just playing the block and knowing exactly where the ball's going based on what they're blocking and how they're blocking you. So a lot of it is fundamental, and you have to be committed to doing it. Guy blocks you got to block out, limit the space, right? Guy flashes, guy pulls, you got to fit the run, you got to go spill, you got to hold up on a double team. That's what happens. Not all those things. Before we start yelling at each other, go ahead, Joe.
I was just saying, so more freelancing than there.
No, I don't want to say like freelancing. It's just you can't really. I could go through one by one every double-digit run, and so whether that's a freelance, somebody being in the wrong spot, somebody getting just blocked, right? They block you. Somebody getting knocked over on a double team, us not fitting a gap scheme, somebody needing to spill, not getting it spilled, whether it's a toss crack and somebody's got to get up and in and somebody's got to overlap or miss tackle. There's a lot of those just things that come up. So I wouldn't say that it's one particular thing based on the multitude of answers that I try to give you.
So not one thing, but Mike Vrabel kind of hammers some of the same points that he has been hammering when it comes to stopping the run and really this defensive front in general. And I have a thought on this about what the situation is and where they need to improve. Going to break all of that down because I think there's some really interesting stuff and nuggets and really some concerning things in there from the Titans head coach. Before we do it, quick shout out, Doughbird Pizza and Rotisserie. It's where you're sure to find flavor. I mentioned all the options for sitting down and getting some food at Doughbird. But if takeout is more your style, you can grab the Family on the Fly bundle to feed the entire family. They're the go-to spot for to-go food in your neighborhood. So go to Doughbird Pizza and Rotisserie. It's in Green Hills. They share a parking lot with the Shake Shack in Green Hills. If you've driven past the Shake Shack, you know exactly where it is. Parking is very easy to get in and out of in case you're picking it up and doing to go. Or if you want to just sit down and eat, that's an option too. But easy parking, free parking, great food for a good cost, and a nice combination and unexpected flavor duo of pizza and rotisserie at Doberd in Green Hills. So go check them out. Seeing what the chat has to say here, and people say Simmons and Autry look exhausted, and I totally agree here. Here's why I'm concerned about this Titans defense. Not just saying like, hey, you need to be better, but really seriously worried about the defense moving forward. And it's the edge play. It is Rashad Weaver. It is Harold Landry. It is Arden Key. And sometimes Danico Autry. But it's really just this edge play in general. You hear Mike Vrabel point out, well, like, we got to set the edge. They didn't set the edge. They had two of their biggest runs bouncing outside when we failed to set the edge, and then they went and made a play. You hear him then say, you know, sometimes it's peeking into a gap. It's fundamentals. It's trying too hard to make a play. But these are the same things Vrabel mentioned when the Titans lost to the Colts a month ago. So I asked him, I said, well, Mike, you've been saying the same thing for a month, and your players are still doing it. So why is that still happening? And he's like, well, that's how you go, guard in the National Football League. I said, right, but how long can the message be? Quit peeking, quit playing peekaboo, set the damn edge and make a tackle. How long can that be the message without your players doing it before it's a player problem? And you just don't have the horses out there. And so that is where my concern lies with the Titans. Both in pass rush and in run defense, their edge play on the defensive line has been bad. Harold Landry has 4 sacks. If you look at the stat sheet, you say Harold Landry has 4 sacks. It has been primarily step-up sacks where a quarterback has gotten pressured by Jeff or Danico and had to evade that pressure. And Harold has been on the receiving end of that. They step up into Harold Landry and get sacked. Maybe once. I mean, how many times has Harold Landry really gotten after the quarterback, winning his one-on-one off the edge? Arden Key was impactful in game 1 against the Saints, has been on a milk carton since then. And he can get after the quarterback. He can't get home to the quarterback. He has been unable to actually bring the quarterback to the ground. And so a guy like Jeffrey Simmons has been on an island where he's getting doubled. He's getting chipped. He's getting all the tricks in the book to contain him because he's the only one capable of actually winning their one-on-one matchup. If you can't win up front, you're going to lose football games. It is as simple and elementary of a football philosophy as there is. And yet it plays out week in and week out for the Titans right now. Big Jeff, I think, is doing his job. I think he's in a tough spot without a ton of help around him. But really where my concern is on this edge play of saying, not only can you not stop the run and not contain the edge in the run because you have a lot of one-trick ponies, you're not doing the job at the one trick you're supposed to be good at. Like Key, Landry, Travis Gibson are all the same type of guy in the sense that they're fast dudes off the edge that are meant to get home on third down. And if you can keep a team in 3rd down and 5 and longer, or even 3rd down and 2, you got a pretty good shot because you got some fast dudes who can get home at a quarterback. When you play a bad offensive line like the Atlanta Falcons and a bad quarterback in Desmond Ridder, that works. But when you can't stop the run and you can't get home, it just creates this spiral of like what we saw yesterday. The Titans defense only gave up 20 points, but they gave up a big play when it felt like they needed a play. Every single time you were like, all right, don't let him hit a big play here. You let him hit a big play. Every time you needed to get off the field, you couldn't do it. You let the Steelers kill enough clock, come up with the touchdown drives when it mattered, and it ultimately cost you the game. So I have a ton of concern about the Titans defensive line moving forward, almost as much as I do about the offensive line. At least the offensive line, you know that it was patchwork. But the resources invested in this D-line from the Arden Key contract to the Jeff Simmons extension to the money they paid Danico Autry and the money they gave Harold Landry, there is some commitment there for this group to be this irrelevant. Very concerning stuff. You look at the players, you look at Shane Bowen, you look at a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Vrabel. It's all tough. And so as you look ahead to the rest of the season, you look to the offseason, your wheels start turning, right? Like they need O-line badly. Andre Dillard is a detriment. Oh gosh, I just wrote an article. As a matter of fact, let me find this article and plug this for you guys about just how bad Andre Dillard has been this season. I'm going to drop this right here. Go click that link. Andre Dillard statistically has been worse than Dennis Daly was. That's a fact. Go read the article and look at the numbers and stuff. But you need offensive line very badly. Now you need defensive line very badly, and specifically guys off the edge. That doesn't come cheap. So I don't know where the Titans go, but they've got some big problems. And the message that seems to be what the Titans coaching technique is, it does not appear to be getting through. So we're in trouble here. Go read that article. That's all I got for you guys. Do me a favor real quick. Go ahead and like the show. There's people who aren't able to watch with us live who are going to come back and possibly watch my thoughts on YouTube or Facebook. And it helps to have some likes on the show because then it pops up for them. And they're like, all right, I'm going to go check this out and see what it is. So go ahead and like the show for me if you enjoyed this one. Go back, watch the A to Z Sports Morning Show and like that one too. I was on there and gave some more detailed thoughts about this whole situation. I don't know where we pivot from here, but the Titans still at least have a quarterback under center in Will Levis that fans are excited about. That one thing you can take to the bank as things move forward here. Titans at 2. I'm back with you guys Tuesday afternoon. Like I said, Tuesday afternoon. We have the mini bye with a couple days off and not as much stuff going on at the facility. But Tuesday, Mike Vrabel says he's coming back with a depth chart with updates about the offensive line. I did see here real quick, I will get to this. Somebody said, any news on Traylon Burks? Traylon Burks, as good as can be. It was a head injury is what Mike Vrabel reported to us today during the press conference. He did come into the facility today, or was expected to come into the facility, and had been communicating via text. So Jordan says, Sam, calling our defensive line irrelevant makes you lose your credibility as an analyst. Did you watch the same game I did, brother? Because how many pressures did they have? How many turnovers did they force? How many sacks did they have on Kenny Pickett? How many big runs did they allow? Where was your big bad defensive line last night, brother? Not there. Not in Pittsburgh. We watched a different game if you think they were anything but irrelevant against the Steelers last night. So they've had some good games. Last night wasn't one of them, and there's some things to be concerned about there. Larry wants to know, can Jalen Duncan get a shot at left tackle? Maybe Jalen Duncan could get a shot at left tackle. There is some cycling going on the up front, injuries to a lot of the Titans offensive linemen that need to settle. So who's back, who's not back? NPF, Daniel Brunskill, these guys went down. Dylan Radins did okay, actually filling in. Those answers are coming Tuesday, and I'm coming back at you guys with the Titans at 2 on Tuesday after we have some of those answers. So till next week, I'll see you guys later. Tighten up. Enjoy the mini bye. Enjoy a nice weekend without Titans football to give you a headache. I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you.